Myron might actually be mentally impaired. I know we talk about Myron a lot, and I know we clown him for a whole bunch of his like man-women dynamics when it comes to how stupid he is when it comes to that, because obviously he has no idea what he's talking about. He's revealed it on numerous time basis that the man doesn't even like vagina, but yet somehow he loves to talk about women. But really, when you really dive into it, it's only hate towards the women, and I'll dive into something about that a little bit later. But today he proved himself to be even stupider for something else.
Again! Abigail, okay, how old are you? It's 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ohio. Okay. What part of Ohio?
Skibidi.
What?
Skibidi. You know, I was just in, what is it called? Winchester. Wait, hold on.
Wait, I love you.
I was up there by Cleveland in January.
What do you do for work?
Social media.
What does that even mean?
That's what I was going to ask.
Social media.
Translation OnlyFans.
Are you a Nepo baby?
No.
I wouldn't be doing OnlyFans if I was.
Oh, please. There's a lot of
And
them.
then also the town you mentioned, Skibidi, is, yeah, it's a blue-collar town.
Fun fact.
What?
Yeah,
No, yeah.
they all are.
Yeah,
in Ohio.
because when she said Nepo baby, I was like, that's impossible. She's from Skibidi, Ohio. So,
It's a crazy name, by the way.
yeah.
Myron, you know Ohio? Skibidi.
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Skibidi. And I'm not talking about slang for an STD. I am talking about the great Skibidi. Skibidi, Ohio toilet riz. One awful concoction of words that has created a cocktail of the most unnecessary, ridiculous bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. Skibidi, Ohio toilet riz. It's not just an identity for Gen Alpha, it is their entire life apparently. It is what truly defines who they are. Now I'm being a little bit facetious when I'm talking about that, but it is something that is a true definition of that age. That generation is defined by Skibidi, Ohio toilet riz. And it does give a little bit of the pieces over there to Gen Z, but I don't want to just throw all of that at Gen Z because everybody already hates on Gen Z for enough reasons as is, even though life has pretty much kicked them in the nuts ever since the beginning. So I'm going to give them a little bit of pass even when it comes to Ohio toilet Skibidi riz. I mean, whatever. But the point being is, anybody who's plugged into the internet, especially somebody like Myron, a person who never leaves X, formerly known as Twitter, that website, people who get on there and on Reddit are individuals who are chronically online. They suffer the disease where they can't get out of the matrix. That's why they consider everything the matrix. You know why? Because they stay plugged into their chairs all day and they never leave. Now this man exposed himself on their platform on Fresh and Fit
Again! So,
It's a crazy name, by the way. Myron, you know Ohio? Skibidi.
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Revealing that he actually had no idea what Skibidi was, but he actually tried to claim it in the stupidest way that he knew exactly what everybody was talking about. You know how somebody isn't in on a joke, but they like to comment and act like they know what they're talking about?
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Sort of like if people are talking about movies or TV shows and stuff like that, and yet they're referencing a bunch of stuff that the other person hasn't seen, but they want to feel in on the conversation, so they just make up lies and they try to pass along the conversation until it gets to the point where you're like, hey homie, you know what, did you really watch this?
So,
It's a crazy name, by the way. Myron, you know Ohio? Skibidi.
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Now listen, I'm almost willing to give Mr. Fuddle a pass on this because Skibidi does sound like it could be a town somewhere. It does sound like it would be next to Middlesboro, Kentucky. It does sound like somewhere that I have been through, but it's not real. And anybody who's chronically online like Myron should know that. Hell Fresh, I'm pretty sure, knows that. And that's what's really funny about the clip is the fact that they just left him hanging. And he was really out there trying to act like he knew what he was talking about. Really embarrassing.
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Like, homie, if you don't know what Skibidi is, it's really not that big a deal. It really isn't. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be a defining moment for your whole podcast career or your internet streaming career if you don't know what Skibidi is. Now, maybe it will kill you off because I guess that is majority of your audience. Because anybody who's dumb enough to, consume Fresh and Fit has to be a toddler or has to be somebody from Gen 8 or the tail end of Gen Z. So I guess it does make sense that, he would try to cape up and act like he knows what Skibidi is. But the thing is, it's so embarrassing that he doesn't.
And then also the town you mentioned, Skibidi, is it's a blue collar town.
Skibidi sounds like something an old man would say back in the 50s. Oh, Skibidi bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like something that people would used to say. Skibidi do, Skibidi die, Skibidi yay. Whatever it is, I can see Skibidi being incorporated in English language in one of those ridiculously stupid Southern terms. What makes all of this worse is that Myron acts like he actually visited the town of Skibidi. Like he actually has been there. Like he visited a local Waffle House, because if the town of Skibidi existed, it sounds like it would have a Waffle House, and a dirty one at that. And it sounds like he had a server named Bumblebee or something like that, and he probably talked shit about her behind her back because she was black. And it's like poor town in the middle of nowhere named Skibidi. I mean, that's just the craziest shit. Is like, how you gonna talk like you actually had been there before? Oh yeah, man, I know it's a blue collar town. Blue collar Skibidi, Ohio Riz. Oh my God, Ohio Jizz. Now, I mean, that's how bad that take was. I mean, it's just, Jesus Christ, man. Really? That's what we're at. I mean, and he really tried to pan it off like, oh yeah, I know what it is.
And then also the town you mentioned, Skibidi, is it's a blue collar town.
Let's play into Myron's fantasy that Skibidi is a real place, that it's a genuine blue collar town. But what kind of town would Skibidi be? Like, Skibidi by just name alone to me just strikes me as a city where everybody's on drugs, especially if they don't work at the local plant. That one plant that I was talking about, that one headquarters where everybody's spending all their time. If they don't work there, they're strung out on drugs, or they got alcoholic fathers everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Or just the mothers, or they're all laced out on drugs. Everybody's on fentanyl. A lot of people scratching. I mean, there's a lot of just scandalous stuff that takes place in the city. There's probably an underground, a trafficking ring that's taking place. I mean, I'm telling you, it's a bad town. Skibidi doesn't strike me as a place that's like safe. It tells me that it has probably bad crime, not enough local PD, not enough to keep up, that is, not to keep up with the drug cartel that's all of a sudden going through Skibidi. Skibidi sounds like a whole lot of places. Skibidi sounds like a place where a whole bunch of bad things happen. Skibidi sounds like a place where, yeah, you can come to this town, you can work, you can grind, you can make yourself some money, but there is no future here. There's some local nice, some poon around town, but other than that, I'm telling you, like, there's not much here. I mean, pretty much for whatever reason, Skibidi has a lot of hot women in it, but there's no future in this town. And a lot of those women usually crash out after about 35, and they end up usually huge, mole face, all sorts of acne problems, stuff like that. And once again, they're all strung out on drugs. So once again, bad town. I just can't imagine Skibidi being a good place. Skibidi is a town that has local bingo nights. You know what I'm saying? That's what they have. Karaoke events at the local center. The one convention center that's just barely hanging on. The place that they have to have the big air fan in just so they can keep it cool in the summer. None of the central, heating, air, and cooling, any of that works. But they're always there. They always have events there, or the church. And if it's anything like Middlesboro, Kentucky, they had competing funeral homes in a town that only had 3,000 people, which is crazy, right? I mean, why would you have multiple funeral homes in a town that's only got about 3,000 people? That was real. That was a thing. And I'm telling you, a lot of people died there. And it was strange to think that people were just falling off like that. They repopulated quite a bit, but there was people that also were, you saw the ambulance quite often with a lot of stretchers. But this is just another, example of the internet lives forever. It doesn't die. It doesn't go away. So the fact that you had this exposure isn't going to disappear. And definitely not anytime soon, because people like me and others are going to clown you for it. And we're going to put out videos, and it won't die. It won't go away.
And then also the town you mentioned, Skibidi, is it's a blue collar town. So.
Fun fact.
What?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
They all are.
Yeah, because when she said Nepo baby, I was like, that's impossible. She's from Skibidi, Ohio. So,
it's a crazy name, by the way. Myron, Ohio? Skibidi.
I study a little bit because when I was looking at a JD Vance.
Yeah.
We all want to feel incorporated. We all want to feel involved, especially when there's a group discussion. But sometimes you just don't know much about the group discussion. We had a podcast here on this channel where sometimes we weren't always super versed on the topics. We had one where we talked about famous guitarists. Only two of us could talk about it, and it was a 4-man podcast. I don't know any guitarists really, at least not too many off the top of my head, because I just don't know bands and music, that well. I really haven't been tapped in like that in a really long time, especially since I started this journey here on YouTube. I really don't consume as much music as I would like. And sometimes the music that I consume is bullshit. Some of it is hot flaming garbage. But there's also some really good artists out there. And usually I listen to people that nobody knows of. People that are trying to grow. People that are trying to rise. Sort of like this channel here. I want to see people grow from the ground roots up. I want to see it actually sprout. I want to see it bloom, blossom in the spring. I want to see people's channels grow. I want to see people's platforms grow. There's already plenty of big channels here on, YouTube and etc. that are doing a good job and they produce. And some of them have gotten completely lazy and are just scamming and taking advantage of their fans at this point in time. But a lot of them do continue to put in the work. But there are other talented individuals out here. And the only way they're going to be able to get to the point that they need to is to get more exposure. Have people actually click on their links. Actually have people view their music. Listen to their stuff. Watch their videos. You have to engage with it or they will never grow. But really, I just wanted to clown Myron in this video. That's all I really wanted to do. It's late. But I just wanted to make fun of him real quick because, this is stupid. Like, why would you go out like this? Like, why is your pride so big that you just can't admit this shit? Now you just go out sad over here on Skibidi. Yeah, Myron sitting around talking like, oh yeah, I had to visit the local bargain hut in Skibidi. He said it was a blue collar town. I wondered I guess this town doesn't have much money. Everybody just works and grinds their ass off. There's no real corporate businesses in Skibidi. It does sound like a place that wouldn't have corporate buildings. You know what? I don't know. Maybe Skibidi would be one of those towns like you just have a random headquarters for somewhere like Amazon or something like that. They just have a big ass warehouse where everybody in the town works. And if they don't work there, they're pretty much poor as hell. That's what it was like when I lived in Middlesboro, Kentucky. I'm telling you, Skibidi sounds very, very similar to that kind of town. Like I would just drive past these just towns. Because they're not cities. They're not places that you would recognize on Google Maps. Hell, they might not even pop up. There might not be actual images for years for some of these places. You just drive by them. And honestly, if they updated the images, even if they were like a decade old, not much has changed. The only thing that most of these towns have added is probably a KFC or a Popeyes. They try to modernize it, but they're also there's not really many black people in some of these towns. So the Popeyes usually don't always pop up. But there's always a KFC. And there's a Burger King and McDonald's. There's a McDonald's in every town. But, if you go towards East Tennessee, you start seeing Weagles and different gas stations and shit like that. Places that are God, is this the same state? That's what you start feeling. But I don't know, man. Skibidi, Ohio, maybe Skibidi, Ohio had a tractor supply. Maybe that's what they had. They had to have something there that made Myron think, yes, Skibidi was real. I know it was real. He must have seen it only in the Page Master. He must have read about it, fell into the deep inside the story, fell all the way into the adventure, believed it was actually a thing. Or maybe he had some lucid dreams. Maybe Myron just accidentally got roofied one night, or he got some trippy drinks and all of a sudden he, had some ayahuasca. Maybe it was something like that. And he had an Aaron Rodgers type of experience and he saw Skibidi, Ohio. He saw it. He knows it's real. I've seen a lot of bodies rolled out on those gurneys. Unfortunately, way more than I ever wanted to take credit for seeing. But that's also kind of what I felt like I see Myron's career at this point, on a gurney. But I'm wrong. Now he's out here speaking up for uncensored America. I guess I was wrong again about that. It's not only that he's not going to get sponsored by people. I guess he might find sponsors and he might also get work. He's speaking on the behalf of another platform, mostly to go out there and just antagonize a bunch of college students. It's nothing impressive. It's sort of like when Ben Shapiro used to go out there and try to be all intellectual with a bunch of college students. And it's like, dude, you're not that smart. A whole bunch of people who haven't experienced life whatsoever, and you're claiming to be this genius amongst them. Like, oh yeah, I'm just speaking down on you. Like, dude, man, y'all can go ahead and eat never mind. Not gonna say all that. That's a little bit much, and Myron might actually want to do such a thing. But that's the thing, is Myron pretty much sat up there for a couple of hours on a platform, got crap talked to him by somebody who used to watch Fresh and Fit all the time, and basically just clowned a bunch of college students. Everybody who came up to the stand, he never actually debated anything worth talking about. He never actually debated anything. He just stated a bunch of stuff and just expressed how he felt. He was mostly just felt like he was on his high horse, just venting all his feelings. I mean, that was it. Any type of rhetoric he wanted to spew, whether he talked about hating gays and hating Jews and black women and fat people and skinny people and people with purple hair. I mean, he just got to pretty much talk shit to him for a good couple hours, it looked like. And I mean, I was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And college students, I mean, don't go out there on any of these platforms, on any of y'all's campuses, and try to debate these people with emotion. You will always lose. You will always lose. Myron was basically up there just getting off, literally, in his pants while he was talking to y'all. He was really enjoying it because y'all gave him what he wanted, emotion.